George, exclusively at Walmart.
CTV News.
Good evening. Toronto was Marathon City today as thousands of runners took over the streets.
More than 20,000 athletes from 50 different countries turned out for the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon. Personal bests were run, many challenges overcome, and 2 Canadians crossed the finish line with times good enough to qualify them for the London Olympics. But, as CTV's Ashley Rowe reports, there was tragedy amidst the triumph.
22,000 people pounded the pavement. Some ran for their health. And how do your lungs feel right now?
Not too bad. It's my legs. Not too bad. My legs.
Many were doing it for a cause, together raising more than $3 million.
I'm working in Toronto with children from government housing, and I'm actually running for them.
Stuart Sankey kept moving to show testicular cancer could not outrun him.
I had chemo, I had a lot of surgeries, a lot of complications, and, you know, when I look back at it now, this just sort of makes it feel all worth it.
For every runner, there are multiple supporters cheering them on. Have a look behind me. There are thousands of people here at the finish line. Gusting winds made things tough for the runners.
There you go. How do you feel about that?
Medics were on high alert from the start. Their worst-case scenario came just before noon hour when a 27-year-old runner had a heart attack and died.
Our heart goes out, and our condolences to the family. At this point, I don't know who the person was, other than it was someone who was in the half marathon, not the full marathon, the half marathon, and they tragically collapsed around Bayham Wellington.
The day was an emotional one for everyone involved, like Eric Gillis.
Oh, man, I'm shaking.
Who finished 42 kilometers in 2 hours and 11 minutes, qualifying him for the London Olympics. And last but not least, 100-year-old Fauja Singh, who ran more than 7 hours to set a record for the first centenarian to run a full marathon. What an amazing feat for Singh. Those last images you saw were him running at about the 30-kilometer mark, and he actually arrived at the finish line just about a half hour ago. He was, it was a slow walk in. He walked his way in. It wasn't a run, but wow, what a triumphant feat. The run in total took him 8 hours, 25 minutes, and 18 seconds, and this was the first time he's completed a marathon in 8 years, so I certainly think it's safe to say we can tip our hat off to him. Reporting live, I'm Ashley Rowe. I'll send it back to the desk.
All right, great story. Thanks, Ashley. Well, a lot of talk today among the Occupy movement. The protesters camped out in St. James at the park there. They spent the day trying to come up with a plan about what to do next.
They marched about the city for an hour or so. Now the crowd of several hundred is back in the park talking about tomorrow. CTV's Colin DeMello is there with them. Colin.
Hi, Andre, and talk is right. This is a very democratic process, so everyone here, they will talk, they will discuss, and they will come to certain conclusions and a very cohesive effort to figure out what they want to do next. So, in fact, this afternoon to protest, it took them about 2.5 hours to decide that they wanted to march down to Yonge Dundas Square.
Occupy Toronto! Occupy Toronto! Occupy Toronto!
On the second day, a Second Street protest. The occupation marched to Yonge Dundas Square, temporarily leaving behind their home in St. James Square.
It got pretty densely populated pretty quickly.
Where their camp has certainly grown into a community.
We all sat and we talked and we shared the things that we know. We shared the things that we didn't know, and I learned things about the way that the economy runs.
But the movement is still missing its message.
I think everybody's upset about something, but we're not sure.
This gazebo in St. James Park has now become the nerve center for the Occupy Toronto operation. This here is a map telling protesters exactly where they can and cannot go. Over here we have a whiteboard passing on information, and at the center of it all is their meeting place.
The most important thing in this movement is we remain peaceful. Don't get arrested.
But that we also
This is where they discuss and dissect exactly what they stand for and what's next. But as united as they look, they're still pretty divided. Despite their disagreements, they say they're finding their way together. What they're looking for is still not clear.
I think that we're seeing a whole new generation of organizers, people who are building their visions for a better world and seeing that it is possible to get there together.
Still, they know this is where they want to be, and they will march until their message is heard. Now, we are back at St. James Park where they're camped out, and they will be for a while yet. This is where every day at about noon and 5 o'clock, they will be holding those discussions to figure out what to do next. Now, as for tomorrow, they do say there is a lot of chatter here that they will be marching onto Bay Street. The exact details are still under wraps, mainly because they don't know, because they haven't quite discussed and decided just yet. Reporting live, Colin DeMello, back to the desk, and I'll throw it back to Paul.
All right, thank you, Colin. At least 80 people were arrested in New York City during its Occupy protest last night. More than half of the arrests happened in Times Square, which was packed with thousands of demonstrators. Police began making arrests after warning the crowd 3 times to disperse. 2 officers were hurt in the confrontation. Onlookers chanted, "We are peaceful," and "The world is watching," as the arrests were made.
The remains of a young child were discovered today in a wooded area within the Six Nations Reserve. They are believed to be that of Marissa Whalen of Fort Erie, a 2-year-old missing since July. Police now have charged 3 women in connection with her death. Today, police searched fields near the third line between Seneca Road and Chiefswood Road on the reserve where the remains were found. 28-year-old Rainbow Hill of Fort Erie is charged with second-degree murder. Her sister is now also facing charges. The child's mother, Roseanne Whalen, is charged with criminal negligence causing death, accessory after the fact to murder, and indignity to human remains.
It has been an adventurous weekend for a Scarborough City Councillor.
Michelle Bernadetti spotted a driver last night that she thought looked drunk, so she pulled him over. CTV's Carol Charles picks up the story.
Michelle Berardinetti is a lot calmer today, but last night around the dinner hour, she and her husband were traveling on Birchmount north of St. Clair. That's where they noticed a driver pull out of this plaza. They say the man appeared to be drunk.
It was so apparent he was almost hitting people. It was extreme swerving from one side, almost hitting the curb.
They followed behind him as he traveled north on Birchmount, and just before Eglinton Avenue, Berardinetti edged her vehicle close to the driver.
He had been going so slow that I was able to almost push my car over or veer towards him.
She flagged him down and told him to pull over. And he did.
I called 911, gave the description of the vehicle, and then after I called 911, I got out of my car to let the man know, stay here, stay in your car, don't leave the scene. I've called 911.
Afraid the driver might try to leave the scene, Berardinetti's husband took the driver's keys away and waited for police to arrive.
The most I've ever seen anybody intoxicated. So falling all over the place, literally passing out as he was driving.
Within minutes, the police arrived and took control of the situation. And they're quick to point out people should leave policing to the police.
I do not recommend that you try to stop the vehicle. Just stay very close at a safe distance back and contact police and let us update us on direction of travel, where this vehicle is traveling, and the license plates if you're able to get one, and a description of the driver if you're able to get it.
While the natural instinct may be to do something to get a drunk driver off the road, police say if you act on impulse, you may endanger your life and the life of others.
Never reach into a vehicle with your hands when you stop the vehicle, because he may overreact and panic and then drive off, and result somebody would get injured.
Would you do that again?
Absolutely. This was we had to get him off the road. If he had continued for 1 or 2 minutes longer, it would have ended up in an accident.
The male driver was investigated and charged. Carol Charles, CTV News.
A shock for a motorist in Thornhill today. Police say a man had parked his Mercedes SUV while he went into a store on Yonge Street south of the 407. That was around 10:20 this morning.